Welcome back. We are at Silver Lanes in East Hartford, semifinal number 2. John Van Hees of Charlestown, Rhode Island, taking on Newburgh, New York's Nick Wells. And there is a look at John Van Hees, the 31-year-old, 5-time NEBA champion. Don Harger.
I'll tell you what, he's got a lot of accolades. He's a pretty young kid. The PBA, the top 8 money winners of last year, are captains of what they call the first inaugural PBA League. And Chris Barnes, who we all know and love, is one of the captains, and he hand-selected John Van Hees, 39th in the world overall, to be on that team of his. And you're really noted when you ball on this NEBA circuit.
Van Hees gets us started. And with a little help from a friend, knocks down the 10 and starts it with a strike.
The messenger head pin comes off the wall because of all that power and comes all the way back, knocks out the 10 pin. We're going to start to see the lanes open up a little bit because our first match kind of dried things up in the middle. And you might see a little bit higher scores this time around.
And Nick Wells now, actually the highest remaining seed of the 4 semifinalists, the 16th seed. Landscaper. "29 years old, and the direct approach is good for a strike."
Pure power. I'll tell you what, Nick's 5 games to make it to the top 32: 192, 186, 223, 215, 299 to blow himself right into the top 32.
And this is his best NEBA tournament. His best previous finish, the round of 8. We've already got a first-time finalist, Brian Davis, awaiting the winner of this match. Boy, a late break there, very sharp, but he's left the 2 and the 5.
You know, Mark, when you throw the ball that hard, you have to throw it. You have to release it perfectly to let it come back and do everything it's supposed to do. When you throw it that hard and you don't catch it on the bottom, you see it kind of squirt like that, and you don't get the results that you're looking for.
He went right after him with a bullet for the spare.
You know, you folks watching at home, in order to overcome every single lane condition, if you throw your spares like that, hard and straight, you're never going to have to worry about whether the lanes are hooking or oily or whatever. You just go hard and straight with something that's not going to hook, and you're going to be a lot better off on a lot more lane conditions that way.
And sometimes we see bowlers go to a different ball for spares. These two don't seem to be doing that.
Well, when you throw it that hard, I don't think you have to.
John Van Hees in his second frame makes it 2 straight strikes.
Great shot. John's 5 games to get to the top 32 was 210, 219, 175, 225, and 265.
Taking a look at this again. It's right where he wanted it to be, Don?
Yeah, and you're going to see the back end right there, the last 5-10 feet of the lanes, the ball definitely went left. That's thankfully to the first match that went on. I don't think we would have saw that ball reaction in the first match, but now they're starting to dry out, and he's getting a little bit of recovery right there. And once you get that and you get a little comfortable, you're going to see the scores go up.
And he's looking for that early turkey. Gobble, gobble.
Nice break on the 4-9. You know, that ball wasn't that high to leave a 4-9 split, but it hit so hard, no deflection whatsoever when it hit the head pin. He almost left the 4-9 split on that.
Boy, we should all be so disappointed after a 3rd straight strike. And he knows he got away with one.
The way he's throwing the ball, I think Nick wants to make sure that he doesn't give him too much room right here.
So here's Nick Wells. Working on a spare in the second. And it just didn't get that kick, and the 10 remains.
Ton of power. You saw the head pin come off the wall, went all the way over into that area, just missed the 10 pin. He couldn't get the lucky break that he needed, but a great shot right there.
So he's at 39 through 2. He's in a hole early, but time remains. He just has to keep marking.
That's right. We saw how easy it is actually to make a little bit of an errant shot and pay for it. So
there it is. A straight beeline to the pin, and the 10 goes. A second straight spare for Nick Wells.
Now, if that gate didn't come down, I wouldn't be surprised if that pin came all the way back past the foul line.
Sometimes you find bowling alleys. I was actually in Wisconsin a week ago, and they have the speed, the velocity measured on the scoreboard.
Yep. Most places do. I know this is in tournament mode right here, so we only have the picture of the scores, but it depends what software program you're using, and it will show you the velocity on the bowling balls. And I'll tell you what, that spare right there, the 10 pin, probably about 25, 26 miles an hour.
So Wells now, here in the fourth, has marked in all three with a strike and 2 spares. Oh, the late break was a beauty.
Very good shot right there by Nick. I think he's going to have the same situation going on as we saw in the last game. If he stays low and he doesn't pop up at the foul line, I think he's going to get a better reaction. That was a great shot.
59 through 3.
Watch him stay low and stay solid. Didn't pop up, and the ball kind of gives him a recovery. It's tough for a ball to hook when it's going down the lane at 25 miles an hour.
Now here's John Van Hees, a turkey to start the match. You got 4.
Great shot by John. I'll tell you what, he's getting the ball down so early, and he gets his thumb out of the ball so early, and he's just rolling it nice and clean with his fingers, not doing a lot. If you see Nick holds on to it a little bit longer. He actually lofts it a little bit, and he gives it a lot more revs. And John, if he can hold the pocket right there, I think he's going to be a little bit cleaner. And I think Nick has the ability to get into trouble when you hit up on the ball like that.
John Van Hees out of Charlestown, Rhode Island. Owns a pro shop. Looking for the 5-bagger. And fortunate to get the kick out on the 10.
Do you call that a bad break or a good break? I saw the 7-10 up there for a second, so I guess it's a good break.
So perfection gone for Van Hees, but still, look at it again, Don.
He's playing the left lane a lot more left, so he's inside, the lane's hooking more. When you're inside like that with that much speed, you really got to throw a perfect shot, or else you're going to get some weird pin carry, and you're going to maybe not carry those corner pins.
He changes up, and the spare ball works. So 109 through 4 for Van Hees. He's up 30 through 3.
Yeah, but if Nick throws a double here, he's right back in the match. Every time you throw a 9 on a double, that's 21 pins off your score. So I'm sure Nick was happy to see that he didn't string them.
Wells in the 5th frame, and that one just never got into the pocket.
Yeah, as we saw all tournament long, if you miss right, it's staying right.
So 3 left over.
It really goes to show you what the pattern was like on this beaten path. You can certainly oil the lanes to where if you miss right, it's going to hook more. And that's what the characteristic was with this shot.
Ooh. And that is going to be difficult for Nick Wells to deal with.
You know, it's just a moment loss of concentration right there. It's an easy spare, the 1, 2, 4. You go up there, you pretty much know exactly what you have to do. You run through the motions. You don't bear down and quite think about it. He wanted to get this ball left of the head pin, and he hit the head pin a little bit too solid straight on.
So Wells now off an open frame in the 5th, trying to get back on the mark here in the 6th. No help with the 2.
Yeah, he doesn't have as good a ball reaction as John Van Hees is having. We see John's ball jumping left on the last 5-10 feet. He definitely has the right ball reaction. John seems to be using a Brunswick Aurora, and Nick is using the Storm Victory Road. I think if Nick goes a little harder and straighter and doesn't try to rely on that big back end, I think he'd be better off.
He's down through 4 by 31 pins. The direct approach works for Wells as he picks up the spare. But now he has to sit back and hope for an open frame in the next 2 here by Van Hees.
If John comes right here with a double, this match is going to be all but over.
Van Hees started with 4 straight and has been in the lead from the first roll. He got some help to keep that split from happening. The 6-10 remain, and some hope remains for Nick Wells.
Big break right there. I don't know how the bowling gods distribute splits and breaks like that. Going to go hard and straight at this with a plastic ball.
And he picks it up for the spare. Now through 5, it is a 40 pin lead for Van Hees. Now he has marked here in the 6th, and he will go on to the 7th.
So John's just going to try to stay clean right here because he knows Nick doesn't have the pocket right now. So he's got to keep fishing for it.
Lucky 7th frame and the strike.
Great shot right there. You had asked me John's approach. He walks a little bit left in the beginning, and that's because on the left lane, especially when he's going a little bit more left to right, he wants to get his whole body motion going that way. So he's going to drift to the left on his first or second step, and then he kind of realigns himself with that target to the right, and all his weight and leverage is going that way. And that's what you want to do when you have to open up the lane and hook it a little bit. You want to keep your body behind the ball.
7th frame now for Nick Wells. He needs a strike. And he cleans up with some power there.
Plenty of power right there. And again, all he has to do is just realize he's got to go a little bit harder and straighter than John.
Not much expression from his opponent, John Van Hees. Van Hees with a 40-point lead through 6 frames now, and each bowler working on a strike in the 7th. Not much room for error now. No, margin of error is minuscule for Nick Wells. And he got another one. Back to back in 7 and 8 for Nick Wells.
Great shot right there. He stayed low, had a lot of leverage. You know, he's shaking his head. He's disappointed, but he's still in the match.
Forcing, as you like to say, John Van Hees to show up.
Exactly.
And then Van Hees now going into the 8th frame. 147 through 6 with the strike in the 7th. And a big roll right here. And the 2 is pesky.
Well, it's not the end of the world. If John paces, which means strike spare, strike spare, strike spare, he has 227. The best Nick can do is 227. So Nick is going to have to throw the next 4. And as long as John stays clean, we're going to have a real tight match at the end.
Van Hees clips the 2 and spares in the 8th.
You know, if you're watching at home and you think you're good enough to have what it takes to come out here on the NEBA Tour and try a tournament or two, you're not going to get any better competition than this. And these guys are tremendous.
It's a long-standing organization now, 50 years, that began in 1962 with about 38 members. And Don, they've added a few since then, right?
Over 530 members today, still going strong.
And always looking for new members. Van Hees cleans things up in the 9th. And he continues to pace.
That's exactly right. Strike spare, strike spare. So Nick really has to strike out to put any kind of pressure on John to show up in the 10th frame. I think he knows it. He's taking a little bit extra time here.
He's working on 2 straight as he approaches things here in the 9th frame. Drying off that hand for a long time.
Just going through the motions in his head, telling himself he's done it 100 times before. Didn't like it.
You know, there was a little hitch I saw at the very end before he threw. It looked like he almost double clutched.
Maybe not too sure of exactly what he wanted to do, but got that ball to the right, and as we said the whole tournament long, you miss right, it stays right.
See if we can see it even in slow motion. It seemed like he kind of 2-stepped in his next to last step.
Not hard to do.
And that one he picks up. 154 through 8, down 33 pins.
So the best Nick can do is 204, and John has 197 plus in the 10th. So I think we know who our final match will be.
Got to play it out, though. We have seen stranger things.
If you remember, Amanda Beck got up and threw the last 4. Bill Webb was in command of that game and opened in the 10th.
And a strike for Wells. And he's trying to finish with a flurry here in the 10th. Crowd starting to realize the situation. The winner will face Brian Davis. It's 2 in a row here in the 10th, and I think if I can read the shake of Nick Wells, his head is, where were these rolls earlier?
Yeah, that shot looked maybe a little bit slower than the other ones in the match earlier. So maybe he slowed the ball down a little bit, which allowed the ball to finish a little bit harder in the end too. You know, it's not hard to get up here and just, you know, underneath the lights and behind the cameras, you want to just throw darts at the pocket and try to get it over with. A little slower right there.
And 8 to finish out, and a 202. So a 5 will tie, 6 will win for John Van Hees.
Not bad being in a spot where you need 5 on 2 balls.
Wow. He got the 6 he needed. Certainly not pretty.
Again, you miss right a little bit, it stays right there. I've seen that split an awful lot of times. Well, it's really a washout because it has the head pin.
And he picks it up on a pretty way to finish.
I guess Chris Barnes knows how to scout bowlers too, huh?
Well, that was a very pretty pickup of the spare, and it's just 1 roll for the final score now for our semifinal number 2 winner, John Van Hees, out of Charlestown, Rhode Island.
This might be an area check ball right here. He might just want to try something different. There it goes to the right.
And he picks up 7 more and finishes at 224 for a 22-pin victory over Nick Wells. John Van Hees advances to the final. Van Hees and Davis for the Silver Lanes Championship. Coming up next, you're watching the New England Bowling Association on CPTV Sports.